Moolah. Duo. Niggas better get off your ass. Yeah. Get to it, nigga. Look, I ain't into procrastination, I just go and get it. No bullshitting, stay committed, completing the mission. My niggas sitting on their ass, don't wanna play the victim. But when that money talks, I'm all ears, I sit and listen. See, when they talk about a hustler, I fit the description. No, I ain't talking Bobby Seals, but I'm one of them niggas. And I ain't in no competition, but a nigga winning. Stay optimistic, plot and plan, and I go out and get it. I follow my vision, staying focused on my concepts. It starts with the mindset, it's all a process. You start from the bottom, climb steps, progress.
What's up? We back like y'all left the door open, man. I keep telling y'all can't get rid of us. This In Here Everything podcast by two kings. I'm King DJ.
I'm King Perez.
And we back with another episode. And y'all see we got us a guest. But before we introduce him, let's get to this rock it or drop it. You feel me? First, let me acknowledge my bad that I messed up. Duo Moolah, I messed up on this track last time, so we got to run it back again for this segment on the rock it or drop it. So make sure y'all hit them polls. This is for sure. No procrastination. Yeah, I messed up last week, man. I played the wrong song, but hey, I already told him we're going to go through a couple of these tracks because we was playing his songs, and they slapped. So make sure y'all hit them polls. Make sure y'all do what y'all got to do and run them views up for him on that No Procrastination by Duo Moolah. Before we get into anything, we hate to say Black History Month, so we're going to elevate ourselves and we're going to say Melanated History Month. So Any and Everything podcast, we got something special for y'all for the whole month of February. Every Thursday. So this is the first Thursday. We're going to tap into what he got to say. This is my guy. A hell of a connection we done already made, and it's divine already. So when y'all hear him speak, he going to speak powerful. But we got somebody coming on every week, and that's going to give us a message from our community. So we tying our community in with theirs, and we tying their community in with ours. So we all grow, we all show love. So that's all it's about, right? Each one teach. Connecting circles, baby. You got to intertwine them things. That's a flow of life. But you got anything to say before we get to talking to him? All right, man.
I'm ready to hear the message.
Let me introduce my guy, man. I gotta make sure I say this right, man. He is a former teacher, and he is a historian, a guy historian, and man, me and him had a conversation over the phone. We got a connection through my sister. Thank you, sis. And we had a couple phone conversations, and man, it was just powerful. Everything that he said was powerful, and I felt it through the phone. You know what I'm saying? So to be able to have him sitting next to me and knowing that he is who he said he is, and real research, documented man, and very intelligent man, dog. So I'm trembling over here because I'm excited, and I had to make sure that this was first because it ain't about where we at, it's about where we came from. And that's exactly what he's about to get ready to talk to us about. So before we get any further, Mr. Amin, the teacher.
I appreciate you. I appreciate the introduction.
Powerful.
Yeah, I used to, we were talking, and one thing I used to do was I used to lead tours at the Charles H. Wright Museum. And on my social media as Hustler of Culture, on most platforms, I talk about being a tour guide at the Charles H. Wright Museum before the Smithsonian of African American History was built in D.C. Detroit was home to the largest museum of African American history in the nation. So actually, my story is a little different. I didn't work for the museum. A friend of mine, Dr. Sawyers, another HBCU grad, we grew up together. He had an after-school tutoring program there, and by us tutoring there, he was renting out a room in the basement. We would take our students on tours, and one week, I mimicked what the tour guide before me said, and I had already done the history because I graduated from Southern University, HBCU in Louisiana, and I had already done the work. So I just mimicked what they said about the museum, and next thing you know, the my boy, which was my boss, the vice president, the CFO, and the lead tour guide, Mama Cuba. Mama Cuba embraced me after my tour. It was like, she was so excited. And I had to tell her, I just learned everything from you last week. So I was leading tours off the dome because I did the research in undergrad to get a little understanding of my culture. Our history is so vast, I'm still a student.
Yeah.
I don't want to come on here and say, oh, I'm an expert. I'm still learning. I'm a student because what they want to exclude is North Africa from our history. There's a video of a gentleman, the same skin tone we are. When he came from Egypt, America told him he was white or European. If you come from Egypt or you're North African in America, they categorize you as European. They don't, and you coming from Africa.
Right.
But one thing that if you study our history, you would know, and I'm jumping around a little bit, but
okay.
When the Europeans invaded Africa, they were dying off like flies because of malaria. Until Dr. Quagnai went down to South America and found a certain sap in a tree that cured malaria.
Yeah.
All of those European explorers were dying off like flies trying to go into Africa and explore. So, but where it really all started was what we call Kemet, and the Greek word for Kemet, or I should say Egypt, is Kemet. Kemet is referred to as Africa as the continent.
That's right.
So we call it Africa. Historians and Africans understand that it's Kemet. Now, it has other names. People refer to it as a Kibulan. It has several different names.
Right.
But North Africa, people did some amazing things. So now I want to pose a question to you, brother.
Talk to us.
What network, we got, 300 channels on cable now? It's 400?
Right.
What network can you turn to and always see some and learn some information about Egypt, living in America, growing up in America? Where do they just blast the pyramids? All of these beautiful statues.
How hungry they are, the poverty-stricken areas. That's the only thing you get on TV.
Right.
That. So you're not getting empowerment.
Yeah, they very rarely talk about the history.
Yeah.
So one thing that I always taught my students was, if you want to keep something from a black person,
you put it in the book.
Put it in the book. And I would always hear, it would be dead in my class, like, damn, ain't nobody mama said this?
Yeah.
So one of the main problems we have is our young people are picking up guns because we don't know who we are.
That's right.
So I don't know how old you brothers are, but I was teaching during the Bush administration, George W. George W., what he did was he put the high-powered weapons where you could have the right to buy the AK-47 during his administration. Also during his administration, nationwide, they started getting rid of Black History programs. Black History class. You can't take a Black History class in most states in high school as an elective. So Ron DeSantis from Florida just got rid of Black History in the state of Florida. So I graduated from Southern. At the time, it was the largest HBCU in the nation.
Right.
I've never taught a Black History class since 1999. Let's think about that for a second.
Yeah, because that's how they smother our history.
They want
if I can't identify who I am, I'm leading myself into the blind. That's blind leading the blind.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
So, but yet they passed where you can go get a high-powered rifle and kill your brother. but they don't want you to know how powerful you are.
And that's
See,
the
if
whole
you're not
concept.
paying attention, this is why they have all these distractions. If you pay attention to social media on Sunday, look at the football post. On Sunday, when LeBron playing, look at the basketball post. Social media blowing up.
Crazy.
This team, that, oh, my team did this team did that. But yet, when it comes to, okay, he done passed the law, and social media wasn't even out when Bush was in office, but I wasn't on social media, so I couldn't speak on if it was. It's never an outcry when it's like, hey man, they're getting rid of Black history. Our kids are gonna be suffering. And they putting guns with it, make the connect the two.
And they taking away cursive writing in school too.
They've already taken that out.
So how can
So
you
if you taking out cursive writing, then you're not going to understand certain Sanskrit and certain cultures and their writings in the past. But what we have to move back towards is books.
I agree.
Young people got guns like crazy. My principal took a kid phone. He's shooting guns off 8 Mile in the vacant lot. 2-3 kids, they out there gang banging. 4 years later, he on the news with 4 older guys going to prison. They robbing folks in Ferndale.
Cause that's the trend.
But they pushing guns, just like they said on Boys in the Hood. Y'all the ones pulling the property value down. When they had Grady from Sanford and Son talking to them, talking about gentrification. Y'all the one, all this thugging and all this stuff y'all doing, food roll up on me. All of this stuff is connected. John Singleton was teaching you in Boys in the Hood and all these other movies.
Sure.
Just like they teaching you in books. But what I found is it's not enough Black males reading.
That's a fact.
As long as they keep us arguing about who better, Jordan or LeBron, we ain't thinking about our history. So this is something this is a video I posed because I watched Nas' documentary. Nas' father was Olu, the famous jazz musician. He was traveling the world. So he told Nas' mother and Nas and Jungle's mother, take these boys out of school. The school system is messing them up. In middle school, he started studying Egyptian history. Now, there's people out here with PhDs and degrees and teaching at universities and doing all this. Nas done went from a middle school dropout to a millionaire. Now, everybody can't rap.
Everybody know.
But he figured out by way of his history how to have amazing career. But not only amazing career, he's a businessman as well.
Definitely.
So he in other lanes and living out his dreams. But where did it all start? The root of it was, let me get my son away from these white folks who not teaching him about himself. And you learn that the great things that we did, and that's why I say you got to start in Egypt. Really, you got to start in Nubia. Nubia came before Egypt. The Nubians were pitch black. Later on, and it encompassed part of modern day Sudan.
Ethiopia, right?
And Ethiopia as well. So
touch me up.
It's so much information that we have to learn. Like I said, I don't want to come on here and act like I'm an expert. I'm still trying to learn myself.
And if you feel like he teaching you, or you can help us learn further, make sure y'all tap into them comments, because y'all know how we are. Shoot, dig into them comments.
So do you think they purposely take their history of violence and try to manipulate it and give us a history of violence?
They manipulate everything. This is what, excuse me. This is one thing I want to point out. And I've always told my students this. Black males are big business in America. Everything that a black man is doing, they want to control. Okay, so we're going to have to talk about the prison situation now.
The who?
Prison situation.
Oh.
So
School to prison pipeline.
it is. And see,
sure.
this is, and I follow Dr. Umar Johnson. And the thing about Dr. Umar Johnson is he wants everybody to be conscious. And what I understand about our history is black people don't care about black history.
That's true.
No, they don't.
Black people don't care about black history. You have to read, and I encourage everybody raising kids. You're a black person, period. If you're raising kids, you definitely need to read.
I agree.
Pull it up on your laptop, on your phone, your tablet, however you can get it. The Willie Lynch letter.
Oh yeah.
Now, I'm gonna make another reference because Nas said it on one of his recent CDs. The Willie Lynch letter was a myth. Now, if it was a myth, why do we behave like this?
I was just about to say, because that's touched down to the T, all the way down to
It
sagging.
is. Yeah, but see, it talks about pit the tall slave against the short slave. The light-skinned slave against the dark-skinned slave. Make us all distrust each other and hate each other. So now we go around in different groups.
Yep.
You can't go over to that neighborhood. They don't know you over there.
Nope.
But what people don't understand about the same way it is in America, the same way it is in Africa. Africa is not united. Why don't they keep them people out? Because Africa is tribal. That's what we don't understand as Americans. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna go over to Africa and I'm gonna go do this. Somebody was just saying, I just watched a video, somebody said, African Americans can move around the continent of Kemet more freely than indigenous people of Kemet because of the different political issues and tribal issues.
I mean, but that's pretty much like the same here, though.
That's what I'm saying. But it's under a different. It's just like I don't know these young rappers, but the brother just went out to California.
Pop Smoke.
Got killed.
Yeah, right.
So to check in and this and that, the same thing. It's the guns and the violence. It's tribal there. But this is something I wanted to talk about while we on it. And y'all gotta forgive me. I study so much and my brain be all over the place. When I get something, I like to jump on.
Oh yeah, that's the spirit speaking.
Slavery existed in Africa before the colonizers came in.
That's a fact.
So you had Africans enslaving Europeans.
But let me tap into that. But they make it seem like the form of slavery back then was a form of work. So I would come to you needing help. You would employ me. I would gather all my family, everything that I own, come to you because you got the money. You feel me? Anything that I would work for you for a certain amount of time. Once my work done, you should be able to release me. But if I love what you was compensating with me and paying me and my family good and comfortable, I'd be like, I stay. And most of them, this is what I read, and I'm tap into me. If it was a form of work there, then where did slavery become a form of life? Shit, if you want to say it like that.
Well, let me say this real quick. There's no word in any Kemet language for prison. It's a Eurocentric concept. European people believe in putting people in cages. So in Kemet, like I said, it's tribal. So
Right.
your tribe go to war against this tribe. The A tribe loses. The B tribe takes those captures, and now you serve 2 years as a slave for tribe B.
But then you get inverted into tribe A, right?
After your time is served for tribe B, you go right back to tribe A. So when the European explorers came in and said, hey, you the king, we want some of your people. They already like, okay, trading, because he came with, and if you go, and I'm going to make a reference to the Charles H. Wright Museum. You go to the Charles H. Wright Museum, Still I Rise exhibit, It's a European man with a felt hat. He has gunpowder. He has a shotgun, and the African king has his goods from the continent that he offered, and they exchange.
That's
So
a trade.
he ended up getting a gun, and the European trader gets 12 Africans. But what they didn't foresee was putting them on the ship, and they gone forever. Before then, if you commit adultery, you caught sleeping with that man white, that's 2 years enslavement for this tribe.
Okay.
Then you go ahead about your business.
Okay, that's clarification.
You get captured at war, war crime. You get, you doing a crime, but you gonna go back to your tribe.
Right.
So the kings they didn't foresee the Atlantic Ocean and slave ships and, never bringing us back in generations. And I teach skilled trades online for the state of Michigan. So one of my students was Nigerian last year. We asked Demi, my coworker asked him about what do they teach about those of us that were taken from the continent and are living, South America, Middle America, and North America. And from a Nigerian that grew up in Nigeria, he said, we only learn about Nigerian kings and queens. We don't learn anything about slavery. They don't teach anything about they came and took some of us, and some of us, are living in North America, Middle America, and South America. They don't teach that in Nigeria. Now, I was able to see another young lady's video from Kenya, and she stated they don't teach history in Africa at all.
Because it's their way of life. Their history is their past. I mean, their past is their present. So they coincide.
But back to what Demi said, they're celebrating their kings and queens of their past in Nigeria. So what you have to understand about the attitudes of different countries in Kemet. Nigerians have a pride the same as their colonizers. Nigerians feel that they're better than all other Africans because the British invaded Nigeria, and the British feel that they're the most powerful, they're better than all of the other Europeans.
Right.
So that basically, and like I said, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but our history is entwined with so many other different things, but we have to start peeling back this onion.
That's the truth.
So to jump back to get back to Egypt, and why I asked, why don't they show our history? But it is in books. Now I'll say this. I graduated from Southern University in 1999. It's 2023. Since I took
boy, you got
Egypt's
some years
history,
in there.
since I took the history of Egypt and all these different courses in undergrad, I pulled out some of my books because I realized in undergrad, stopped selling my books back to the bookstore. In college, you'll buy a book, and I'm old school. They're expensive now. I'm old school, but you'll buy a book for $60. Go to turn it in, they want to give you $8 back for that book. Nowadays, books like $200, and they want to give you $50 for it. But anyway, I started keeping my books. I looked up on Amazon, and I have an Amazon storefront. So I was trying to add one of my books from my undergrad courses, and the book is out of print. So they steady removing our history, and there's no fuss about it. The only fuss on Sunday is
who better?
Hey, oh man, they shouldn't have did that to LeBron. What's his name? Shannon Sharp about to fight at the Grizzlies game. So it's more attention on sports, but our young boys out here dying in the streets. And I keep seeing this post from single mothers. I hope don't nobody kill my son. I pray that don't nobody kill my son. But what are we doing
to prevent that?
To prevent it.
We big on community, man. So man, all y'all about to do is say it sound like he talking like we talking because we preach the same thing, man. We so big on community and taking these kids away from poverty-stricken mindsets. You can be in a poverty-stricken area.
To me because if you, I was a big fan of Richard Pryor back in the days, but on this one Richard Pryor clip, he was over in Egypt and he was with some archaeologists and stuff, and they was going through all the stuff they was finding in these books, and Richard Pryor is in the temple, and he was like, look at all these black people. He was like, man, he's like, I didn't know that there was so many black people in Egypt and stuff, and the more and more he learned, they locked him in the the pyramids and stuff. They closed the pyramids up on him because they didn't ever want him to get out and get
spread that message.
Spread that message.
You're right. I know exactly. I just saw that clip like last week, but they canceled his show.
Yeah,
right.
Soon as you start getting the message out there, so
they Dave Chappelle you.
I started off on TikTok. I was doing Black History on TikTok starting last Black History Month. I grew to 49,000 followers, and they banned my account. More Black History video. They started slowing my videos down. They don't want us to spread this message. So I ended up starting four separate accounts on TikTok. Mm-hmm. But they still got a chokehold. I've been at 21,000 followers on TikTok for 6 months. 6 months. So it's really like we don't want the truth out there. This guy got the truth, and it's not just me. Yeah. It's another guy. And before I started, when I started researching, it was a young lady on there in tears. She said, anytime we're trying to get out this black message, they slow us down, they ban our accounts. So I'm just learning. So I witnessed like 5 people go from 300,000. One guy in Chicago, Alley Talk 3, he had 1.6 million. When you're talking that black stuff, he had to start all the way over. Because
it's a lot of them like that too.
They don't want the message to get out there. And what we do, and I used to tell my students this, black people hate black people. This is a teaching experience. Long as you learning about white people, it's cool. Soon as I try to inject some black history, here you go talking that black
Here you go talking that black rich shit.
I mean, I done studied all this history to tell you how powerful you are, and you mad at your own history. Like, I don't understand it, but
that's a bondage, though. That's part of the chains, man. If they keep us chained down mentally, man, they got us everywhere else.
Even if you look at it, they say black history has no educational value. But at the same time, when you're talking about American history, you teach about slavery. So
that's what
slavery is part of black history, and
that's another one of them lashes.
No educational value, why even mention it?
So, but see what the whole thing is, it has plenty of educational value. They hide in our history
and lying
because put in, and I'm gonna make another Charles H. Wright Museum reference. I didn't learn this in undergrad. I learned this being a tour guide at the museum. Mm-hmm. We created the breakaway chimney. So of course here we are in cabins, and the home is made of wood. And if you've ever seen that big pot,
yep,
where it cooked over the stove. Now that big pot, that was heating up the house, heating up the cabin, as well as where Big Mama would cook. Right. But they would have brick on the bottom of the chimney outside. The upper part of the chimney would be made of straw and that red clay mud. Mm-hmm. And it would have a stick. That stick would be propped up against it as a brace. So with straw and mud, sometimes you catch a little piece of straw and then next thing you know, that dry mud, the chimney catch on fire.
Right.
All you got to do is run outside, pull that stick away. The top part can be rebuilt. You don't have to build a whole cabin.
Right.
But see, when you have inventors and people doing things on the fly, they don't want that history passed down. Like, my people did this, they invented and created that. I've never heard of that.
That's empowerment.
So if I wasn't a tour guide, and here I studied history, I got a whole degree in history, but I'm still learning. Like, I learned this like 2 years after graduating.
Right.
So it's so much history out here, I'll be learning till I die. So we have to get on, and trust me, the more you know, the more powerful you become.
I agree.
Because, and this is how my young ladies would always read. Now, they wasn't reading history books, you know. Right. That Sister Soldier was popular with them. The Coldest Winter Ever. Part 2 is out right now. So the young men, I'm trying to get my young men to read, and they hiding information. If you don't know stuff, people are always going to be able to run game on.
I agree.
Because you don't never sit down and say, man, let me read. Let me go ahead and take this time to read. A lot of brothers don't get. Mike Tyson, I read a article about Mike Tyson when he went to prison. Mike Tyson didn't know how to read until he got locked up for the situation with the young lady. Mm-hmm. He said he had to start off with Dr. Seuss in prison. Like, he reading elementary level books, but he ended up elevating himself because now you got time to sit your ass down and learn something.
Definitely got time.
A lot of black men don't learn till they end up doing that bid.
Yep. And that's true too.
You had all that freedom, and what we doing? And Eric Thomas, I don't know if y'all familiar with E.T., the motivational speaker. He from Detroit. Yeah. He says, we watching the game for 3 hours. Then we watching ESPN to see the highlight of the game that we just watched for 3 hours.
And then you watch it again, boy.
And then you got to check on what other game and who lost, because that's going to affect your team.
Yep.
So we giving all of our time to sports and entertainment.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's like a model design from the Greeks. You know, back in the day, they used to have these big coliseums, and, you know, people go fight for the death and all stuff like that. That was that form of entertainment that kept everybody so entwined with what was going on in the Coliseum that they didn't, you know, look at the state that, you know,
what the government is doing.
Right, the government was doing.
That's the same thing here.
Exactly.
We
So
worried about that.
That's why I said, think about it. When I was growing up, we had 2, 4, 7, 50, 62.
The channels.
56 was PBS. So now you have 400, 500 some channels on cable, and ain't none of them talking about Egypt.
None of them.
They don't want you to know. You got to go do a deep dive in certain things. And like I said, they taking books out of print. They've been taking books out of print.
And then they lying too. So
they've been lying.
You got to shift between the lies and the truth.
Yeah, so he just mentioned Greece. So it's a video I have up on my Facebook page right now where a European professor is teaching about all of the Egyptians, all of the Greeks say they learned, they got everything from Egypt.
Yeah.
So, and this is something I want to break down real quick.
He said everything.
The pyramids were already in Egypt. The Greeks came across the Mediterranean Sea to study under the Egyptians. The pyramids are already built. Now, they went 15 years, they say Pythagoras and Plato and the rest of these guys studied 15 years. He said they spent 5 years begging them to make them one of their students.
Yep.
So when they went back to Greece, they claimed all of the knowledge the Pythagoras theorem. You cannot build a pyramid with what we call the Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras came along 2,000 years after the pyramid was already built. Now, the pyramids are one of the 7 wonders of the world. Mm-hmm. Why is it the only wonder of the world that you can still go see? All the other ones have crumbled. Mm-hmm. So when I'm teaching my skilled trade students, I pose this question. What is the largest skilled trades project that has ever taken place in human history?
That's deep though. That's deep too because they say.
But think about it. People always say we built this country. We built the pyramids too. It's in us. We have skilled trades.
Before it was even called skilled trades.
It was, exactly. Stone setters.
Yep. That's what it was. Yep.
So I just unearthed some information about an Arab conqueror that went into Egypt, and his whole thing was, we're going to tear the pyramids down. He cut a big hole into the side of one of the pyramids, but they were unable to tear the pyramids down. Him and his crew, he got an army together. We're going to destroy this.
Right.
Like Kanye said on one of the songs. There'll always be haters. That's the way it is. Hater bitches, hater niggas marry hater bitches and have hater kids. They don't want you to know this information. So he tried to tear it down. They still standing strong, but in order to build a structure that is at a 45-degree angle, first thing you got to understand is a 90-degree angle. Then half of a 90-degree angle is 45. So it's structures in America today that's crumbling, and they built square or rectangle. They not built at an angle like that. They've been trying to figure this out for thousands of years.
They energy gatherers.
And I'm going to put another thing out there my late professor, Dr. Allen, said. It's Europeans all over the world that wake up and say, I want to go to Egypt and study the pyramids. Because they want to tell you, oh, these are Europeans that built this. Study Nubia, Google Nubians, look up Nubia. Nubians were pitch black people. The Nubians ended up, I think part of Nubia ended up being underwater somewhere. They discovered they discovered a part of a city underneath some water. I can't say specifically where, but if you look at the History Channel, everything, all of the women and the men are made to look European. Mm-hmm. And so I taught at my first high school was a business and CAD, or a computer animated design. Okay. And they specified in healthcare. So one of the CAD instructors, I was able to see how CAD worked. And all they doing on the History Channel is taking the hieroglyphics, computerizing the face to make it look like a European face. But what they can't do is take these African lips and noses off of these monuments all over the world, because we melanated people built it. You're not gonna carve out a stone that look like another culture and you carving for your culture. It just don't add up. And it's many things that we
chiseling off our nose.
Right.
Statues
because
too.
They chiseled off the nose. So
to identify, they knew like this is the identification.
Lips and nose. Yeah. So one thing. Go ahead.
Even if you go to the like Vatican and you look at the pictures in the Vatican, even if you just Google it and look at, you type in Pope and you look at some of the pictures that they took in the Vatican, you very rarely see a black Jesus. If you look at Russia and go into some of the Russian museums, you don't see a white Jesus.
No, I'm gonna tell you now. I took cultural anthropology under Dr. Sad at Wayne County Community College. European professor. He was a cinematographer for National Geographic. He would go and spend months in studying different tribes where no cameras had ever been. He was telling us, like, y'all got the most powerful history. And like I said, he's a European professor, and he telling us in class, like, your culture has so much history, but they hide it from you all. So if you go around, and we went around southeastern Michigan studying different religions. We went to where the Hare Krishna, they chant Hare Krishna. I think I can't think of the name of it, but they study. They claim that Sanskrit was the first written language, and they don't eat any. They don't eat anything that has parents. So they're vegetarians, but they that's how he explained it after the service. But they have black deities, just like Buddha was pitch black.
Mm-hmm. The original
the Chinese, Buddha. The Japanese,
yep.
all of the deities are black. Yep. The Queen Mary. If you've ever seen that video, I don't know if y'all be on social media like I do. If you've ever seen that video of Queen Elizabeth kneeling to, yep. I can't say who she was kneeling to, because
it was
kissing her feet. Yeah. So studying, by taking that class, I was able to see and they really don't show it on social media. The Japanese, their deities are African. And you can see have you ever seen the black Japanese people?
I have.
So
the
we
original
were
Japanese.
So all it is they lost that melanin.
Yeah.
Everything basically came from us, and they lost their melanin. And it just depends on what part of the world they moved to. So back to the nose, and my professor, once again, Dr. Allen, Black Studies 311. I got it in my notes. I still got my notebook from 20 years ago. Yeah, for real. 20 years ago, because I knew I was going across campus like, man, you need to take Dr. Allen class, because the brother was deep, but he was from the projects in Pittsburgh, so he was spitting rap lyrics with the history. Like, wait a minute, hold on, this shit's super interesting.
That's how they catch us now.
Yeah, but see, he basically broke it down and was like, if you in Africa or you in Kemet, the equator runs through the continent. It's super hot there.
Yep.
The nostrils are going to be bigger because you need to breathe. Now, we live in Michigan. If it's 12 degrees or -5, you go outside and take in a whole bunch of, you're going to be coughing.
Yeah.
Right. So Europeans have smaller noses. Mm-hmm. So when they see this big nose on the Sphinx, he got Alexander the Great, he one of the world's first player haters. Yeah. We got to shoot the nose off of that.
Yep.
We can't have this standing. So they basically started defaming these beautiful structures and monuments because they didn't have it in Europe, where they came from.
Yep.
Their people couldn't think of it. Their brain cells didn't come up with that. So they like, let's start hating on it. Mm-hmm. So they took it a step further and like, anything black people doing positive, we got to tear it down.
See it?
Excuse me, because the reality of it is, and coming back to what I said earlier, black men are big business. As if they control our minds. My principal, Ricky Fountain, sent me to Chicago, Dr. Juwanza Kunjufu's conference, to study. He's been studying the behavior of black kids for 40 years. He got like 40 books. I want to say he got over 40 books written on the subject. If you don't have positive images of black people in your classroom, where are inner city black youth going to see these positive images?
What they got to look up to?
The rap music started off super positive in the 70s, in the 80s.
Yep.
And then, we had black pride. We wearing black medallions, fight the power. We had the self-destruction. We had the East Coast version, West Coast version. Everybody coming together in the corporate America like, oh, no, hell no.
This not making us enough money.
No.
One guy said, he was like, well, you know, if you look at demographics, would you sell to, you know, basically an all-white audience? Would you sell to them about killing, drug use, and promoting rape? And he was like, no, because, I mean, that's not the type of, you know, stuff they want to, you know, that type of message they want to send out because they wouldn't make any money off of it.
Right.
But, you know, and he also asked him, well, would you let your kids listen to it? And he was like, no. And he was like, well, but you're a record executive, but y'all, you know, advertise and market this to the black community. And he was like, well, because it sells.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
So it all goes back to what I was saying about President Bush. Think about 20 years ago. Look back 20 years. They had already gotten rid of the positive rappers. So the music is already negative. Now you inject the guns. Now you take away the history. All of this is systematically set up.
Oh my God.
But like I said, I'm going to go back to what my Dr. Umar Johnson referenced. Dr. Umar Johnson was telling you this, but when he started to say, oh, I'm going to build a school, his message went to the wayside. Like, people don't mess with Umar Johnson, but the brother is speaking facts when he's not talking about giving lashes and all that other stuff he do.
Dr. Umar, my guy, man.
He's my guy.
They supposed to get lashes.
But the reality is, like I said before, black people hate black people. Yeah. We focused on looking European, being European.
I think he say that though. He speak on that. He
speaks on that, but what he's losing his audience with Shannon Sharp. He gets so many lashes for sleeping with white women. That man, what do he want to sleep with? You can't control who he like just because he's black. Yeah. I mean, the reality is, there's some people that's gonna marry outside of the race, but I can't be mad at Shannon Sharp. But if he get on there and he like, oh, I hate black women, and he always dogging black women, then I'm gonna say, okay, dog, you're doing too much. You bring it down to sisters, and I don't like that. But if you giving everybody lashes, I mean,
you putting everybody out your community.
Yeah, you putting everybody out the next. But see, I follow the brother, so I ain't gonna go no further. But he's doing a whole lot. And what I would say is, people get upset with him and they don't hear the message. He has a lot of historical facts. Yeah. A lot of things that I've studied, he's telling the truth on. Yeah. But when he had the falling out with Seth, and he did the whole thing that Christmas, it was like, wait a minute, hold on, brother. We trying to come together. Now you trying to fight this brother. And I said, this is a little too much. But anyway, I say this to say, we have a lot of people out here trying to get the message out here, that's spreading the message, and we get caught up in so many other things that it goes to the wayside. I'm just trying to present the history to the people. You go do your own research. I done already read it. I ain't gonna get out here and tell some stuff. We have to research. When we start going and looking at who we are, you're going to become more powerful.
But isn't that what happened with the liberation in Haiti? When he told him, he was like, you know, how many people want to be free? How many people want to fight for their freedom? And he was like, those that want to fight for their freedom, step forward. And he was like, you know, the ones that wanted to fight for their freedom, step forward. And he was like, well, you know, they was like, well, what about the people in the back? He's like, well, if we want freedom, first thing we got to do is kill these motherfuckers in the back. Because they're going to be the ones that turn us in, you know, trade information, you know, anything to stop the cause.
Judases.
So you gotta look at it in a way that, yeah, we are black, but within our black culture, you got people that are comfortable living that lie. So them are the people that's gonna, you know, pretty much damage the movement.
Every time. Every time. Like I said, I don't know how old y'all are, but back in the day, it'll be an incident at Fairlane Mall. And half of the word to get around, you know, we boycotting Fairlane. only certain people boycotting Fairlane. The rest of the people are still going out
shopping
there. Like, you know, we have the ability to put a economic strain on liquor stores, grocery stores. People mistreating us different places, but we don't never say, you know what? I'm gonna drive down the block because they did such and such, such and such to this sister, and I don't like that, so I'm gonna start shopping over here. People keep going to that same store, keep on going, employing that foolishness, giving their money. Like, we got to look at our own behavior as a people, but we don't never come together and say, let's fix some things because this brother losing his son, this sister lost her son. We losing, and when you teaching, you notice how many kids the community's losing.
Yeah.
Like, I won't go back into a school. I used to mentor kids, and I done lost so many students. I don't want to meet another young kid because it's actually a possibility he gonna die before I am because the streets is that bad.
Yeah.
Like, they running around. Our youth is running around doing
whatever they want to do.
Man,
with no guidance.
No guidance.
And you know, that's one thing Martin Luther King realized, especially with the boycott of buses and stuff like that. That revenue for different states and cities, he shut that down because if you look at it, we spend the most money out of any ethnic group on the planet. I mean, we spend trillions.
We don't say.
So if you cut that money base, they got to fold, and you got to look at not only history, American history.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was given by accident.
Right.
Everything they got, they took.
You had to take it.
You can't go in other ethnic groups' community and just have a free fall and do what you want. You know what I'm saying? Only in our community that we are that forgiving. We don't, bear arms and protect ourselves. And that was, the main focus of getting rid of groups like the Black Panther and stuff like that. Because if you have 50 police come into our community to beat and brutalize our people, you were met with 50 black men with guns, armed.
Right.
They didn't want that war. So they had to seek them out individually. So, I tell people when it comes to marching and singing, I don't want no part of marching and singing. Now, when you're ready to, grab your shit, I'm down with that. Because we're not going to get any shit by bargaining, forgiving, marching and singing. It's not going to happen. You know how many black cities have been destroyed? How many black towns? And to this day, America owes black families millions and millions of dollars.
This place is built on our back.
They done took land from our people that they never had the right to take.
That's why when you
Even if you look at Central Park right now, Central Park is owned by black people. They never had the right to take that land. But they took it by force.
Yeah, they took a lot of stuff by force.
So you think about all these towns that right now they're digging up and finding black history in. These towns are really still owned by black people because it was never brought, it was never purchased, it was stolen.
Foresight.
Yeah. That's why who you say was the biggest player hater?
European people.
You named the specific one.
Oh, Alexander the Great.
I want to go further than that and say Christopher Columbus.
So if you look at that, like they had a dispute, I think it might have been in Florida, it might have been in California. That beachfront property that was worth millions of dollars that the government stole from that black family.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, they were tied up in years and years of litigation just to get their property back.
Right. That was generations trying to
get generations.
But they always do things to benefit themselves. And pretty much the laws were created against us. So, and this is another reason why I stepped away from the school. When I stepped away from the school system, I had just watched the documentary 13. Ava DuVernay on Netflix. So they're showing you how slavery ended. If you don't read the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, the Reconstruction Amendment, then you're not aware of this. The 13th Amendment ended slavery on the plantation, picking cotton. It just shifted to prison. If you in Idaho, you digging up Idaho potatoes. Depending on where you locked up at, you now doing free labor. They were getting Orange Star. The making the Orange Star devices. Prisoners was making that. So the politicians are in bed with the CEOs of companies. It's just like Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Oh, I got these prisoners, they're gonna do this work for cheaper.
Yeah.
So they putting other folks out of business. Cheap labor. So you not picking cotton, but you doing some work for 27 cents an hour.
Make a license plate say,
It's way beyond license plate. There's so many different products that's made. If you watch 13, you'll understand why they not teaching my son this, why they keep taking Black History programs out. You don't have a want to go to school because they're not teaching you about your culture.
You gotta understand too, and that's where policing came into slave patrol.
Exactly.
And you gotta understand what they would do is like, oh, you don't got nowhere to go, you're loitering.
Right,
so we're gonna lock you up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You look suspicious, so we're gonna lock you up.
But see, it goes back to, so by me teaching, that development of your brain at home from you being a baby to 5 years old is critical.
Yeah.
Because kids get to school at 5 and they don't know much.
Yes.
So now it's time to start learning from 5 to 18. It's time to start learning before you're an adult. But if you didn't put the proper foundation in from being a baby until 5, get them ready for school, they already behind. So if you look at the numbers, and this is another reference to the museum, there's a plaque on the wall when you get ready to leave out of Still I Rise exhibit. It tells you the reading level for Detroiters. It's all the Detroiters, it is almost around 46% of functionally illiterate adults in Detroit. So DPS is passing you graduating, but you're reading at an 8th grade level. How you gonna get out here and function in society? You can't get that job. Because it's not, if you're not educating your kids at home, trust me, DPS is not like, they're not pushing you to be your best. Some schools, some situations, yeah, they going the extra mile. But in most situations, you the parent, you're the first teacher.
That's agreed. I agree.
You gotta look at it. They really not teaching anything. If you go through, if you didn't remember from 1st grade to 12th grade, what did you really learn in school that is like life living skills that you can use once you get out into the world?
Home ec class.
They took that away.
They took it away, but when I was coming, we had home ec and I had shop class.
I did,
so they took it away. Now most people can't get shop class. I'm in skilled trades. Like I said, I teach skilled trades. I know they removed it from the Black community.
I had woodsmanship in middle school. I didn't I was in a white school in middle school. Once I transferred and went to a black school, they ain't had woodsmanship. I was mad because I like that.
Yeah.
They a whole different.
Basic of college. Most of the classes and stuff they teach you in college is not geared for you to make a living. You know, and you gotta look at it like this. Trades are one of the most underrated, you know what I'm saying, professions, and when it comes to education. But that's where you make your money at. If you're a plumber, electrician, you know what I'm saying, heating and cooling, you always make money. You will always have a job. So, you know, you got to think about, people go to college and they take classes and get degrees in humanities. What are they working at? I mean, even if some of these other jobs that you